It's still very embarrassing. It's not on GitHub. I don't have it anywhere. It just lives locally on my machine for me to look at every now and again and go, wow.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Lee Ngo, and I am with Educative Sessions. Educative makes it easy for authors to provide interactive and adaptive courses for software developers. And Educative Sessions is a multi-episodic campaign to engage people in the developer world about their own coding experiences. My guest today is Jacob Knopf, who is a developer evangelist with Galvanize. And today he's going to talk about, and I quote, my most embarrassing app, how I fell in love with coding. Jacob, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Jacob, let's begin. Before you began your entire coding journey, what were you up to professionally? What were you doing before this new era in your life?
Sure. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Theater, and that was always my plan to start like auditioning. And then kind of realized after graduating I didn't want to go down that path, and I'd always loved teaching and mentoring. And so I kind of gravitated to the nonprofit and education sectors. And that's where I worked for a little over 5 years after graduating. But then really just kind of regretted that I never even took one computer science course or one graphic design or visual design. I've always loved drawing since I was a little kid. And so that was always just sort of nagging at me in the back of my head as I began my professional journey, that I'd never really explored that. And so what got me into coding was actually, I did a UX design boot camp and loved that so much. I was disappointed that we didn't do more coding. So that led me to do a software engineering boot camp at the Flatiron School. And so that's kind of what happened, is it had always been something that I had wanted to explore more. And I just sort of chose the nonprofit path because I'd always loved teaching, like I said, and that just sort of seemed to make sense. But as the years went by, it really started to just sort of eat at me, that I'd never really explored this thing that I'd always sort of thought about. And so that's what got me into coding. And yeah, here I am today.
Very cool. Very cool. Was there a particular moment or particular person or reason that inspired you to make that transition from going to being an educator and someone who loved to perform and be in front of crowds to into what you're doing now?
I think actually the biggest push, it was my family, and it was really my fiance Tia as well. She was the one, because she saw me, every day, that I wasn't necessarily happy with what I was doing. It wasn't that creative sort of thing that I got. That's what I loved about theater so much, was just being able to create and do something new every single day. And she could see that I wasn't filling sort of that void. And so she was really the one that was just like, you need to just at least go try a UX design boot camp. You can for sure, you can do that. You love to draw. You're very detail oriented. And so that was really the switch moment. And then my family too was like, well, I mean, you're only going to continue to regret if you never explore this and you never see what's possible. So that was really the switch moment. And then that's when I applied for my UX design boot camp and somehow got in. And then that really kickstarted that whole path, that journey.
Got it. And so while you were in this UX boot camp, you were assigned a lot of different tasks, from my understanding. A lot of boot camps are project-based learning, and your first application is actually the subject that we want to talk about today.
Yes.
And the way you described it to me while we were preparing for this talk is that this entire experience has been an embarrassing and yet fulfilling one. So let's
Yes.
walk us through a little bit more of that assignment process and what you were able to gain from it.
Definitely. So yeah, the first real coding assignment that I had at Flatiron was just to build a CLI app, just a command line CRUD app of your choosing, whatever you wanted. And we had just started Ruby 3 weeks prior. So it was like, all right, you've been doing Ruby for 3 weeks. Now you're going to build a CLI app. You're just going to go ahead and you're going to do it. And so I still wasn't feeling very solid with my object-oriented programming skills and everything, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But so I was like, what about a restaurant, like a pizza restaurant? That can't be that hard to build out.
Mhm.
And very quickly after the first day, I realized that even a simple idea and a simple CLI really requires a lot of very explicit understanding of how to, use instance variables in your classes and all sorts of things. And I realized pretty quickly, wow, I still have a long way to go. And this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And so that's why it was very embarrassing. I was watching all of my cohort mates starting to build these really cool things. They were already completely error proof, like every single possibility. And I was sitting there looking at my thing like, what's going on? But slowly and surely it actually did build, and I was able to get something that actually worked and was completely error proof as well. And so it's embarrassing because it was a simple pizza restaurant CLI app, just like choose a pizza size, choose a pizza type, here's your final price. Thank you so much for your business. And so it's still very embarrassing. It's not on GitHub. I don't have it anywhere. It just lives locally on my machine for me to look at every now and again and go, wow, that's where I started. But the reason that I love it so much is that by the end, I actually could see and feel all those concepts and all of those things like that seemed so crazy. They started to solidify. And I started to see, oh, that's how you pass an instance variable to another method. And that's how I can, oh, okay. And so that's why it's still very embarrassing, but I love it because it was the first thing that I coded out. And it works. It's a teeny tiny little command line prompt, but it works and it's completely error proof. And I'm very proud of that fact because I know that after the first day working on it, I was like, this thing's never going to work. I can't do this. I can't be a coder. And by the end of it, a couple of days later, I went, I actually have something here. This is something. It's a starting point. And I'm very happy about that for sure.
I would love to ask a little bit more about the functionality of this pizza app. And
Sure.
because something like that, depending on the kind of inputs and depending on the kind of features you'd want to put in, could
Yeah.
really go off the rails, right? What exactly was the whole process of the app and what you wanted to accomplish by building it?
So basically, I mean, it wasn't a fully functioning like pizza restaurant app like I initially intended. Like, I can definitely do that in a couple of days. Like,
Sure, sure.
what I really just wanted was something, just a command line prompt that got someone into the prompt and led them all the way through. And so I had three resources on my back end. It was just pizza, topping, and final pizza.
Mhm.
That's all it was. And literally, I didn't even get it to where I also want, like, the price of the pizza is only calculated by the size. At the beginning, you choose a size, small, medium, or large.
Right.
And then after that, you can choose between three different types of pizzas, cheese pizza, veggie pizza, or a meat lover's pizza. But the price is still only, I couldn't, in the few days that I had, I was like, and I'll have different prices for small, medium, large. And then if you choose a cheese pizza, that'll be different from a small meat lover's pizza. I didn't get that far. I didn't
Right.
get that far. So it's literally just a like sort of baby version of a pizza restaurant. You choose a size and then you can choose a type, and then it gives you your price based off of that initial size. And then right before you check out, it asks you if you would like to confirm and check out, or you can go back and edit everything again. So what I really wanted to do in the beginning was actually build out something that I could like post everywhere and get hosted and be like, it's a pizza CLI app. And by the end, what I really wanted and what I got is I was just like, I want to show my instructors, my cohort mates, and myself that I can use these skills and these concepts that I've learned in the last 3 weeks to actually build something, however small, whatever it is, that works. And that's what I got in the end, is that it does work, even if it didn't fulfill the initial intent that I wanted. I had a little bit of a loftier goal.
Right. And I mean, of course, it's been a while, I'm sure, but you can't get too hard on yourself for uh, you know, having ambition, right? And I think we're also commonly, especially when it comes to getting started on any kind of project, we want to get really ambitious.
Yeah,
And immediately, I think what you seem to have experienced is the life of the engineer. It's like, cool, but I've
yeah,
got 3 days and I know how to do 4 things.
exactly.
Um, and who knows, right? I mean, I think when I hear a lot of different stories about product requests and what ends up being valuable to the customer,
Hmm.
maybe people just want a flat rate, regardless of whatever toppings are on there, right? We
Right.
don't know. Who
Yeah,
are we to say? Who are we to
exactly.
say, right?
Hmm.
Stepping back, it looks like you still look back at this project. Why are you so reluctant to show this project to the public? I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right?
I mean, there's nothing like the worst that couldn't happen. What I ended up doing is that I also repeated that first module because I really wanted to solidify my Ruby expertise before getting into Rails, JavaScript, and React. I was like, if I can't even like feel confident and comfortable with this stuff, then it's just not going to work. So I chose a different, and I'd made a different CLI app a couple of weeks later when I repeated the mod, which does live on GitHub. It's a movie review CLI for vintage film. So it has like 20 old films that I picked out, like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Psycho, all sorts of things. And you can view all the movies in the database. You can rate all the movies. So I went in a little bit of a different direction. And so that's why it doesn't live anywhere, because I chose to pursue something else. And yeah, it will live on my machine so that I can look at it. No one else has to look at the pizza app
I mean,
until maybe one day, maybe I'll finish it.
well,
I think also
there are private repositories. I mean, you got to keep it safe somehow. But if it's really just like air gapped and you really don't want anyone to access it, I feel like there's something that you're trying to hide. I don't know. It just seems like a darn shame. That's all I'll say. So fast forward from there. It sounds like you had a great experience in your boot camp, and you also learned a lot as well. Now you are a developer evangelist. What does that mean for a lot of your different interests, whether it's theater or education or technology? How does your current work still be informed by all of those different energies that you have in you?
Definitely. That's a great question. And weirdly enough, I feel like this role is actually such a unique coalescence of everything that I've done professionally, from my time at St. John's University studying theater and reading all sorts of old plays and acting in so many different things and working behind the scenes, to my UX design boot camp and learning how to design for the web and designing mobile apps and everything. And then going to my coding boot camp and building everything out. I get to choose what events I put on as a developer evangelist. And so, I mean, I get to design all of the marketing materials, all the different things that go on Eventbrite and Meetup. I obviously get to perform when I'm running these workshops. And what I want to be doing more of now is getting into some more technical workshops and things. Like Python is something that I've been wanting to learn for a very, very long time. And it's obviously a huge part of our data science bootcamp, having good Python fundamentals. And so that's something that I want to be looking at more now that I've sort of got myself grounded in this position. That's what I really want to be looking towards now, is more technical topics, especially like cybersecurity is a huge thing that I feel very strongly about. And that's also something that I learned takes a lot more time to build out the authentication process for it. That was a lot harder than I thought it was too. When I got into my like more capstone projects, I was like, oh, again, I thought it was going to be simple. No, not at all. And so that's definitely something that I would like to do more. But I really see this role as a combination of like everything that I've done. And it really gives me the flexibility to pursue whatever technical topics that I want. And so right now I'm going to be focusing more on data science and Python, because that's sort of outside of my world still. But I would like it to be part of my skill set going forward for sure.
Wonderful. And I think what I've gained, I mean, I've just met you in a lot of different ways, but there seems to be this cultivated fearlessness that has come since joining the technical world, and also doing, whether it's a project about a pizza restaurant or soon to be things on cybersecurity and data science, that the more that you do, the less you'll be afraid of, and the more like knowledge and audacity that you might have with the kind of projects. And my only hope is I one day would like to see this pizza restaurant and give it, an honest review. I just think that is in the spirit of, human knowledge belongs to the world. I learned that from a film that was about this kind of stuff called Antitrust. It's set in Portland. It's maybe not that great, but maybe I shouldn't say that on the record, but whatever. Anyways, so Jacob, we've come to the end of our show, believe it or not. I know this stuff moves super fast, but
Yeah.
I would love to give you an opportunity to share anything you like, call it a shameless plug or what have you. But you just have a few seconds to really open up and express whatever you like in this call.
Sure. Very quickly, I'd just like to go off what you just said, that being in the tech world has helped me so much to be so less fearful of failure and everything, and just be open to it. I was always very much a perfectionist and was very scared to show people anything. I guess it's still evident a little bit. I won't show my pizza app, but just be open to failure and to growing, and just have that, sort of fearlessness inside of you and just see where it can take you, because that's how we learn and grow, is from our failures.
Wonderful. Jacob, as many people know, you are in a position that I once was in before, and even just reading your energy, I know you're going to be very successful in it. So I wish you all the success in the world, and really do appreciate you coming and speaking on our show. And I want to thank everybody that is also watching as well. Thank you so much for really indulging in these stories, and I hope you've gained something from it as well. Our next show is coming up sometime soon. Please keep an eye out on our social media and also our channels for when that gets posted. And if you'd like to learn more about us at Educative, you can check us out at educative.io. So for all of us here at Educative and beyond, thank you so much. Happy learning and have a great day.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to do this.
Great. Thank you for watching this episode of Educative Session. If you liked this episode, please like it and share with your community. To stay informed about the latest sessions, subscribe to our channel by clicking the button above. Check out our podcast at educativesessions.podbean.com in the description below. Lastly, if you're tech curious, check us out at educative.io. Happy learning, everyone.